Alright guys, now that we've set up our workstation, it's time to actually get started with looking at some of how the browser actually reads your server of HTML and website pages. Now basically, when you go into a server or a website, for example, I'm going to go into localhost. Now, localhost doesn't do this, but generally if you go on a website, it'll usually take you to a page called the index page, which is basically index.html, which is, as you might know, I'm just gonna redo that. Should. Okay. So now we're gonna try. Now we're gonna try to enter localhost, and it should automatically take us to the index page. Oh, that would work too. I mean, I guess it's configured weird. We're gonna want to go to the index, and it's gonna automatically say it works. Now, what I want you guys to do is go into your XAMPP, which would be computer local disk C. Now, on the server, basically what XAMPP, which is basically the server, the local host will look in this document in order to get all of its things. So we want to start completely fresh. So we're going to make a new folder called old. And in this folder, we're going to put all these old files. Paste this. Yes, I realize there's an easier way to do this, but silly old me, I guess. We're gonna get rid of all this now. All this useless stuff is useless to us now. Yeah, useless stuff is useful. I open this, I should have all my stuff. Okay, we are good to go. Now, an error is gonna come up now when we try to go to when we try to access localhost again, because it won't be able to find it. Basically, it'll just show us this, but we don't want it to show it this. We want it to show us a different page when we load it up. When we load it up, we want to show this. We want it to show a different page. So how do we accomplish this? This is very simple. What we do is we create an index page. Now, creating an index.html page, basically, before we do that, I want to just run over a couple things on Notepad++. As soon as you open it, this interface pops up. I want you to go to Settings, Style Configurator. Basically, this highlights your syntax and everything. So we're gonna mess around with the highlighting a little bit, and just to make it a little bit better. Number one, you're gonna go to Default and make sure this is unchecked. This is all good. This is fine. Make sure this is unchecked when you say bold. I want to make sure this is also unchecked. This is fine. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, we can deal with all this other stuff. Okay, I want to click Save and Close, and then we are ready to start making our web page. But if you notice, we don't know how to make a web page. Don't worry, guys. I'll teach you how. First, I'm going to zoom up on here. Now, in HTML, there are these things called tags, and tags equal code. Code is basically what your browser is going to read. Now, tags say stuff like head, body, title, basically define your web page. Now, in order to define our web page, we enclose such things in less than, greater than, less than symbols. So I'm going to go over this obviously in detail, but for right now, for simplicity, I want you to make a greater than, less than symbol. I'm just going to call it a tag, and type the words HTML into them. Now that's great, but in HTML, another major thing we have to do is ensure that we end everything that we start. So in order to end everything that we start, we're going to want to use this symbol. I'm going to scroll up again. This symbol after this symbol in order to end it. But we need to specify what we're ending, because pretty soon, what if we have like a bunch of different things also in an HTML tag? By the way, this is an HTML tag. We got to specify what we're ending. So we got to say, okay, we're going to end. What are we going to end? HTML. We're going to end this. So basically it says, okay, we're going to run this. HTML basically says, okay, this is a web page. So we're going to be like, okay, this is a web page. Okay, we finished loading the web page. But that's not what we want to do. We want to say something like the index page. So what we're going to want to do is just type in, just regular type in the index page and then end. Better yet, I think we should do hello world, just for a little hello world program or website. Now, in order to save, we're going to want to click Save, and it's going to ask us where we want to save it in. I say go to Computer, Local Disk, locate XAMPP, go to htdocs, and this time type in index.html. .html, like I explained earlier, it means that it's an HTML file. So basically what we're saying now is we want you to open something, and we want you to open an HTML file. You want to hit Save right here. And now, as you can see, it's already highlighted this. So basically, we know that HTML and HTML, and inside this, we have this thing called Hello World. Now, some browsers might not display this, but since I'm using Google Chrome, I'm going to run this thing in Chrome. Okay, that works. So, yeah. But let's try looking at the local host now. As you can see, the local host has now looked for the indexed page. Basically, the local host has done this. They've gone into like the document thing and be like, okay, I need to find an index page. I found one. Let me not do what I was doing before and just load this index page. So now it's loaded the index page. It's actually loading the index page. I'm not just messing with you. Because if we were to I should probably have kept this up. This is the third time accessing it. If we were to go and try to edit this page, by the way, best way, right click and click edit with Notepad++, because normally Notepad++ is like a better version of Notepad, and yes, you can edit HTML in Notepad too. Now, instead of this, if we were to type in change the text from hello world to world of hello, or faux hello, yeah, that works too. If we were to change this now, as you can see, that's basically all it is. So basically, inside the local host, it's going to look for the index.html file, so you don't have to type that in. It's kind of like how you type in Google and enter, and it automatically knows what to load. In a similar manner, if you just type in localhost, it'll automatically know what to load. Okay, that's great and everything, but now I want to actually get coding to make my website look as awesome as Google's or something. Well, before we think about making a let's look at this. Sorry, guys. Let's look at this logically. When you're taking a test, when your teacher instructs you on how to make a test, for this purpose, we're going to be the teacher, and the browser is going to be the student, and the paper is going to be the website. Now, the teacher, which is us, is going to give the student a list of instructions. The student is going to have to interpret those instructions and write something else out on the piece of paper. Let's say that this piece of paper is a test. It's like an exam test. Before the teacher gives the student the test, it's common knowledge that going to want to prepare the student so he can write the test and make it good, or make logical sense, or it executes properly. In a similar manner, we, the teacher, have to tell the student what to expect. We tell the student, the browser, what to expect so we can load the web page right. So in order to do this, first we're going to want to make our HTML and HTML tags, which basically specify that this is a document. So we're going to say, this is a document. Before we start the HTML page, we're going to want to get our tag thingies up, but instead of typing this, we're going to want to do something called a Doctype. So I want you to type out Doctype, and then type HTML. And as you notice, it's going to do this. What is a Doctype? A Doctype is basically a way of letting your browser know what kind of a web page to expect. There are different types of web pages. Yes, and you can Google Doctype validations. Google that on Google, and you'll find thousands of different Doctypes. But I want to teach you guys HTML5, which is the latest standard of HTML. Therefore, I'm going to be using this Doctype. So basically, we've now said, okay, browser, before you even think about loading this web page, Doctype is going to be HTML, just regular HTML5, which is the standard HTML thingy. As you know, even without this thing, if we go into localhost now, if we enter it, it's still going to display it, but it's common practice. It's really important that you actually do this. to always enter the doc type. But the best thing about the doc type is, since it's not in the document, it won't show. Again, these if this website doesn't look too hot, that's because we have yet to do a lot of stuff. So basically, this is our document. So basically, we learned about the doc type, which basically tells your browser what to expect, and we learned how to declare that this is going to be a page. As you also can see, the browser doesn't display the HTML tags, nor does it display the doc type validation. So yeah, this has been PhoenixMan 1015. In the next part, we're gonna buckle down and actually start writing stuff. But until then, you can type in loads of junk on your thingy, on your text editor, and the browser will display it. Also, as you can see, that's not right. So we'll fix that later. You have a lot to learn. You have a lot to learn, but enjoy what you're learning now. And this has been PhoenixMan 1015, and I'm signing off. The next part, we're gonna buckle down and get to coding.